Hello, everyone. Glad to see you back here at Silver Tears Tarot. We are going to take another look into question from my inbox. So this one is, it's actually a combination of three people's questions. So, but you'll probably all be able to see your question in that. We actually did have a fourth person who had also asked the question, but then we had some circumstances change. But the point is, there are multiple people who were asking the question, and that was really has my person given up? How attached to this are they feeling? So I get that they're feeling like they can't get away, but what else are they feeling like? So that's what we're going to look into today. And of course, it's a general reading as always. It's for this collective, so it's not going to resonate with everybody, and because of that, it really shouldn't resonate with everybody. But if it's your story, then maybe consider looking at some of the other messages that have come out, and think about maybe if you would like to subscribe. We're going to go ahead and jump in. So, we're going to get the basic energy between the two of you today and just kind of see what's sticking out. We're going to go a little heavy on your person's energy since we know we're going to look deeply into that. But that's just kind of what's sticking out in their energy today. Let's see here. So we've got the Lover's card in reverse. It's all about not being able to connect the pieces. So you know how sometimes if you've been watching for a while, you'll know there's the Two of Wands, and the Two of Wands is a card of travel, but sometimes it is a card of emotional travel. It's an emotional distance that needs to be bridged. And so that's kind of one of the things that we keep seeing here. Sometimes it feels like it's an outright impasse, other times just a difference that needs to be bridged. It creates a bit of a struggle here. This Lover's card in reverse, though, is essentially the it's really feeling like they're not being able to connect. They're not being able to meet in the middle in that, like what we see with that Two of Wands card. That's the reason I bring it up. The Five of Wands talks about there being a struggle for them, which we see that it is. There's been the lesson of making sure you know what it is that you want. We have the Nine of Chalices here that's in reverse, and this is saying your person knows they do not have what it is that would make them happy, their wish fulfillment. They're not really feeling like they're experiencing that. They're struggling a lot. They're feeling like, here, I understand everything I can't do. I understand things that don't seem to come into line, but what is going to work for me? What is that wish fulfillment going to look like? So this is a big piece of it's a soul searching lesson for them. Did you guys see that card spin around? Sometimes I think shuffling is just for the purpose of reorienting it for later. But this is a difficult energy for your person to be in because it doesn't feel like they are very sure of themselves. There's a lot of overthinking. I can feel like there's just a lot of overthinking across the whole picture. And so that's going to be both of you. This Queen of Pentacles and this Page of Wands have both come out sideways, and they both feel kind of sideways in that there are some elements that I can feel in the upright and some that I can feel in the reverse. But I think I'm going to go ahead and leave them sideways because, sometimes you bring a card out in the upright and you can still feel some of the elements of that same card reversed. They're balanced enough here that I think it was meant to come out this way, but I'll just go ahead and leave them because I feel like it's right. With the Queen of Pentacles, we've got that feeling of it's like this is almost not their energy. So I feel like we've got their energy here and we've got your energy here, and both of them are wavering, which is why we've got the cards coming out sideways. So the Queen of Pentacles is more about your energy, but it is that it's an energy we've often seen associated with you, and especially in your person's eyes, because it's about having it, really kind of having it together. This is a very nurturing, and it has it all. This queen has it all. It really is. This is probably, well, I don't know. I like them all, but this is definitely one of my favorites to see come out, especially when it's how does your person see you? How are you doing? How are you feeling? So there's a self-worth piece associated with the Queen of Pentacles as well. And I feel like maybe that's with you what's wavering. So you've got good self-worth that has really started to show itself as you were dealing with this situation, but it also wavers sometimes when the overthinking gets too heavy. And so that's something to watch for. It's just something that I'm kind of noticing. Page of Wands for them, this is more of a it's a depression kind of feeling, but it's not the whole element of depression. Essentially, what it is that portion where you can't be talked into being interested in anything or excited about anything. That's kind of what this feels like to me. And it's an in and out sort of feeling again. So it's for them. It's kind of wavering. Sometimes they've got the um, just the energy to move forward, and other times they find that they're really lacking that. We've got the Three of Chalices that's come up here in the reverse. This is things just kind of not going your way or things not going their way. Maybe a little bit of both of those today. And every day is different. So that's, this energy is kind of like a mood. It's when I get the general energetic backdrop, it's just kind of what is the energy that you're swimming in? What is that mood? And of course, we're looking at it more heavily on your person's side, but some of it that's coming up is definitely shared with you as well. You guys have a lot of things that are shared together. And today is, for some of you and for some of them also, a difficult day. We have Seven of Wands in reverse. It's a feeling of not feeling very protected, not feeling like you ever really catch up to anything. Ten of Chalices is, so this is that card of something being too good to be true. We've seen it a whole bunch of times, especially when the Nine of Chalices started coming out. That's the Nine and Ten of Cups. It's that water energy, and it's talking about the lessons of figuring out what you really want with the Nine of Cups, and then figuring out what to do about it when something like that shows up here with the Ten of Chalices. And it's challenging for your person in particular because they're feeling like their ability to figure things out is all stretched out right now. It's not feeling very comfortable for them. They are not sure of themselves in a lot of ways. That might be, you might also share that. It's something they are, a feeling they are particularly bathing in today, along with that Three of Chalices in reverse, things not quite going right, going in and out of that depression feeling, the Seven of Wands in reverse, not really feeling protected or like they've got a good shot. Um, but things are not giving them a break. This is the Eight of Wands, and it's maybe happening for you as well. Like time marches on. This has been an intense sort of energy that we've seen here in the last few days. With a lot of things happening, but not necessarily a lot of resolution. It's almost like it's building up some pressure again. We saw that happening a few weeks ago. We saw the pressure really starting to build up. People started to feel like they needed to reach out and be in communication with their person, things like that. And some of you did. Some of you had different types of conversations. There were all kinds of things that happened in those experiences. Some people did really well with it. Some people are still waiting to hear back from their person. So let's see. We're going to go ahead and go into kind of the main question here that brought us. And this is about how attached they are to the situation and to you, and attached might really be the right word for it. So part of the lessons here that we keep seeing is the lesson of non-attachment, or learning to become unattached to the outcome. We want to understand how attached to the outcome they are, but we also kind of want to understand if they've given up hope. And so this is really kind of that question. Have you given up? Have they given up hope? Have they just kind of decided that they don't want to try? So we have the Five of Swords. This is a card of not wanting to get involved in a situation that you can't win. Because in the upright, it's a matter of, one of the ways that this card comes across, the Five of Swords, is winning at any cost. It has that feeling of winning at any cost. And it kind of has that, but this is almost satellite to it. When we feel that feeling in the reverse, it's not exactly the opposite. It's not wanting to engage something that you can't win, honestly. But that is not an emotional response. That's saving yourself with logic and ego. So the ego is there for that purpose, to protect you from things that hurt. But this is a situation where your person is going to have to learn how to discern that 10 of chalices lesson, how to discern what to do when they are faced with something that's really amazing. But it seems like they've got to hit bottom a little bit before that happens. They are There's a feeling of heartbreak that comes and goes for them, and sometimes they're able to ignore it, sometimes they're able to kind of work past it, and then other times they fall to it like they can't function. And this is a deeper element of depression than what I'm seeing with the Page of Wands, where that's a I don't really feel like doing anything. I don't feel passionate about anything sort of feeling. This Three of Swords, when it is in the upright and they're feeling the pain and roll over them, they are not able to do anything else. In the reverse, they're able to almost completely forget it for a time, but it comes back with such a vengeance that it's really difficult for them to manage. They aren't going to end up being able to manage that. They're going to have to drop part of this burden. So they're feeling like they don't want to enter into a situation that they can't win. But again, that's their ego trying to save them from pain. They are going to, because they can't seem to set down things that they don't control. And it's a common problem. A lot of you are probably saying, "Oh, me too. I get that." It's hard to set down the things that you don't control and to become a little bit less attached to those things that you don't control. They're having a hard time with that, and that's why they're kind of pushing the whole thing away, because it hurts too much when it hurts. And so they kind of want to allow their ego to protect them in this regard. I think when we get to the extended, we might have to look into something regarding what is their egoistic response, um, and to understand what it would take to maybe dismantle that. What would they have to accomplish in order to be able to get past this egoistic response? Because we're seeing this Two of Wands come out again. So this is that same Two of Wands with that same feeling, comes out in many decks, but it is that emotional distance that we talked about before, not being able to bridge that emotional distance. They don't feel like there's a choice here. That's the other feeling that comes out with this lover's card in reverse. It's not feeling like they have a choice. They don't feel like they can do it, and they don't want to jump into something that they don't feel like they can win. However, there is some unlocking happening here. We've got the Devil card in reverse, and we've got the Temperance card in reverse. So to unpack that, the Devil card is talking about what controls them. Okay, so they are being controlled by something, and this is not necessarily the control ending, but the realization of that control in a way that is kind of like, now that they've observed this in that way, they aren't going to be able to unsee it, but it creates a huge balance. So to use an extreme case, this is, I'm going to say, most of your people do not have a heroin problem. Okay. However, if they were to decide they were no longer going to be controlled by that anymore, the withdrawal process is extreme. Okay. And that's why I'm saying this is a super extreme example. However, in some potentially lesser way, but probably doesn't feel insignificant to them, they've decided to no longer be beholden to something, or they're in the process of making that decision. They've realized they are beholden to something and that they can't really, they're already caught up in the process of no longer being beholden to it. And it's already creating this sort of tension. It's like they've realized something, part of those new truths that we saw before seeping through, and they're not able to unsee it. Um, that's a kind of a tough situation because they're in it. They're, even if they decide not to move forward and do anything about it right now, they're basically trapped in this. I think they're starting to realize that, and some of them definitely have, but that makes them panic rather than want to work on the relationship. There's that feeling of that depression and that extreme nature of just unhappiness, not being able to set down the things they don't control, not being able to get themselves to be set down by what's controlling them, but now no longer being able to sit there and let it happen. You have the Knight of Chalices. This is going to be more of them being, this is their quiet time. We also have the Hermit in reverse, which is them going into their thinking cave. the hermit card is coming out an awful lot for us lately. A lot of times it does come out in the reverse because there are some things that your person is really trying to reconcile. So we've seen it before in some of the other readings, and it feels like it again, but it's basic values that they were taught very early on in life. They are now questioning something about that as a result of having run across you and having had to realize this lesson is out there, around figuring out what it is that you truly want, and then figuring out what you're even supposed to do when you get to it. So that has triggered within them the realization that they've now seen this thing that's controlling them for what it is, or they've seen it in a different light. There's been some form of new perspective, but they're not through this issue yet, and they're trying to minimize the amount of effort they put out because you can only fight on so many fronts, and so they feel like this thing with you feels like a struggle to them, which we see over here, because they don't feel like they have a choice, so they're feeling like they're fighting a fight they can't win. But honestly, the flip side is, if they jump in, they have to win. Like they that it's a very strange feeling. There's no gray area in it. It's like they feel like they have to remove themselves from it. And so this is that removal. This is that feeling of having to remove themselves from it. At no point do I see here that they're not very much attached. I still see them very engaged in the situation, and trying to figure out honestly how they're going to manage it. um, we need to find a more of the emotions in this, though. So that's one thing that we haven't really seen. We see them quiet, Knight of Chalices not moving, Page of Chalices not speaking, Queen of Wands nothing moving forward, Seven of Pentacles feeling like they're it's like they're gaslighting themselves into feeling like what happened before wasn't as significant to them even as it was. They are denying this truth that has come to them. But the thing is, they can't exactly. Okay, here we're just gonna. I don't want to have any more turned over than I need. They're denying this new truth to themselves, but they kind of can't, because with the Devil card here and the Temperance card both in reverse, they're realizing there's something does not compute, something doesn't work, and they're having to go back and kind of figure it out. It's this is the piece that isn't coming into place for them, but they're still just having such a hard time making it work. And the worst part of it is they're the only ones who can make it work. With the Magician card here, it's about manifestation, but it's also about being able to create the transmutation of the energy, the almost alchemical change of the energy from one thing to another. And they're the only ones who can do it. They're the only ones who can do it in their situation. And with this hermit in reverse, we see them really trying to dig into that and explore it, but it is such an uncomfortable situation. We've seen in previous readings, give them a lot of hope. You give them a lot of support as you move through this. And right now they're feeling like they're not functioning with that support because they're not engaging you. And they're not engaging you because they feel like they don't have a choice in the matter and they're not going to be able to make it work. So this is, it's not feeling to me like they've given up because they want to give up. It feels like, no, it feels like they're giving up because they want to give up, but they can't give up. You may be feeling a little bit of that too. I feel like it's a bit of a mirrored energy, because I feel like I'm saying that about them, but yet I could be saying the same about you. Maybe there's a point where, yes, this is amazing. I have seen something that I truly believe that could be my wish fulfillment. And we know that changes over time. This is what could be that wish fulfillment, but there's not a clear understanding of what to do to move toward it. There has been some communication on that. That's part of what these new truths have covered. But unfortunately, understanding what has to change and being able to make the change have not been the same thing. So being able to make the change, that feeling has been pretty elusive, both for you and your person. So this has been a matter of lessons that need to be learned. I think we need to go into your lesson here, but when we get into the extended, we're going to look into their emotions on this a little bit more. It seems like there's a volatile emotional experience happening here for your person. And they're almost panicking, like I was saying earlier, panicking and pushing this out of their mind because they don't feel like they have the space for it. um, but we know they've got some lessons to learn. We may look at that in the extended as well if it doesn't come out by itself. But let's go ahead and look at your lessons first. And this is not so much your big picture lessons, but what you can be focusing on right now, given this energy, given what we've seen here in this reading. Ooh, I dropped a bunch of cards, but we don't actually want any of them. Sometimes I drop them and I see, oh, there it is. That's the one. Not that time. Okay, let's see. So we've got the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. Here's that old lesson that we've seen over and over in a couple of forms. The Nine of Pentacles in reverse is talking about becoming comfortable in a situation that is not particularly comfortable. So with the Nine of Pentacles in reverse here, this is constantly shifting for you, your situation around you, not even when we take this person into consideration, the rest of things. It's a lot of shifting around you right now. You've got other things going on. We've seen you approaching crossroads, understanding that there were going to be a couple of crossroads for you to go through. I think you were already at one of them a couple of days ago, or at least some of you were. Everybody's in a different place on the timeline, but this is a situation where there's almost no right answer. The way that this feels is there's almost no right answer. I don't think this is a situation with your person. I think this is something else that maybe one of those things that your situation with your person has equipped you to deal with a little bit better. It's going to feel like there's a missed opportunity here, but you need to give it an opportunity. Keep yourself wide open because something isn't over. And there's a change that's going to happen that will create an emotional difference in you. So um, don't make a snap decision at this time, even though you may see yourself kind of going over the waterfall. Like, don't make a snap decision. Um, there is a lot of hope. There is a lot of inevitability in the lessons that you're learning right now. It doesn't necessarily have to do with your person in as much as helping you to understand what's happening with them. It's more something that they have armed you to deal with. And this situation better arms you to deal with what's happening with them. They need to go through their own version of this thing that you're doing right now. And so that's one of the things that needs to happen. That may be part of what's happening in their energy right now, because it seems like there's a lot of consternation, an awful lot of like a building level of difficulty. And yet you're over here going through this kind of related situation, related only in that those emotions are only warmed up because of this. And I don't think it's a romantic situation or another soulmate. I think it's more of a situation that arises in your life elsewhere. Not to say there wouldn't be another soulmate attached, but one of the things that just wants to keep coming out on this is how crazy the energy is. It's not really calming down, so you're having to make decisions with less information, and to be able to do things even when you haven't had time to reflect. This Two of Swords is about making decisions, not necessarily easy decisions. They could be impacting someone's life. You know, someone was talking about having to make a decision about putting a pet down. It's that sort of level. It could be not a simple decision, even it may be a simple decision, but not an easy one. And like I said, it may impact someone's life. So we have the Knight of Pentacles. Things are going to drag out here with this situation. They're dragging out a little bit longer than maybe what you thought they would. Definitely longer than what is comfortable. It's not a comfortable thing. That's one of the things I will say about this is there's no real comfort to be found in this, but you have already learned in some ways how to sort of buffer yourself from that and how to create comfort for yourself in a situation where there isn't much. What's added to this is this tower. You've been told in the past you've got some tumultuous energy coming in emotionally. You want to lean into that. It's hard to lean into that when it's tough to reflect. The hermit card in reverse is already taken, but like I said, there's a lot of energy that kind of mirrors between the two of you anyway. With the Six of Swords, though, it's really just showing that things are not calming down enough for you to make this decision in a calm space. There's a lot of overthinking, there's a lot going on, and nothing is moving as quickly as you might wish. You also may feel like there's just a lot of confusion in what you're supposed to do. If you take that step back and look at the big picture, you'll notice that it doesn't necessarily clear things up. Um, but it definitely, that's like 3 times I've dropped a card. It doesn't necessarily clear things up when you step back and look at the big picture, but at least it helps you to see it from a slightly different perspective. You're going to start to be able to see where you've got the walls up and where you're creating resistance. The Nine of Wands in this case feels like walls that don't need to be guarded, that you are about to see. That's part of this tower that's going to happen here. You're going to learn to, it's like a lesson, a mini lesson of vulnerability for you. May not feel mini at the time. It's only mini when you compare it to like what your person is trying to learn right now, which is a major lesson in vulnerability. And so you're getting kind of a mini lesson in it over here. Take the opportunity, dig in, and get to the root of it. That's what these opportunities are. They're not comfortable situations in your life. Again, with the energy not moving super quickly forward, you may have a little bit of time to think about this. I feel like we're done drawing cards there, but feel like you're going to have a little bit of time to think about this. And with this Knight of Pentacles, it's maybe going to be an uncomfortable amount of time. It's not really, in the big scheme of things, going to be that long, but it's going to feel excruciatingly so, as you look at it. So that, I think, is, we're going to dig into this too when we get into the extended, because that was just a whole lot. You're like in the business end of something, and so is your person. So we need to get in a little bit deeper and understand what's happened with this, because it's like they want to give up, but they cannot give up. And so we're going to look into a little bit more like what would have to happen here for them, for things to get better for them. I know they need to understand some, they need to realign some values. They need to get past something that's controlling them. But let's understand a little bit more deeply, because it's like they, once they realize it's in their hands, is when they really start to lock up. We'll look at that. We'll look into what their lessons are, and then we're going to go deeper into yours as well, because it seems like you've got something going on pretty much right now. And I think maybe we'll even look into that a little bit more deeply tomorrow, because it has surfaced in multiple lessons, and it's like it's bursting at the seams. When your lessons start bursting at the seams, I got to do readings on them, because those are the things that that you guys are really here for. It's what I've noticed when I talk with you. You are doing the work. You are learning the lessons. You're saying, I get that this is going to be painful. I need to understand what I need to do. Give me practical information. So we're going to look for that tomorrow in tomorrow's reading. But when we go to the extended here, so the link will be down below, we're going to go in and take a closer look at your person and what's happening with their emotions around, I want to give up, but I feel like I can't. Can't disengage, completely stuck to it, want to give up. What is it going to take? And what their lesson is. So we'll look there. Hope to see you in the extended. If not, then I look forward to seeing you again in another reading.